Okay, so I'm playing some heads up 100 no limit on Bovada. Um, just started playing this guy. He has min raised a couple buttons and then he just 3x'd one, so I don't really know what his in position style is going to be just yet. But we'll try to see what we can figure out about him. There he min raises again. I'm going to start off 3-betting pot against his min raise. Obviously I don't like this board, like very little equity, so I just check fold. But if he continues kind of too much or just doesn't seem to go away very easily against my pot 3-bet, then I'm going to start 3-betting bigger than pot. That's something I've been experimenting with lately. It looks like he's going to use a large 3-bet sizing against my 3x. I think I might have played this guy a little bit ago, so we'll see if it's the same person. Against min raise, the dynamic is going to be that I'm going to have to flat a lot more hands. And then I'm going to have to give up post-flop a lot more often too, because out of position, because my range is going to be so wide that I can't just lead into him all willy-nilly or do anything like that, because he's just going to, I'm going to have too much crap too often with the amount of hands that I have to flat against min-raise. I will sometimes lead half pot with a polarized range. Sort of depends on whether it's strong or weak, just depends on game flow and what's been going on recently. I'm going to just pop turn and try to take it down when he checks back flop. He'll have nothing here a decent portion of the time. Oh, I make this straight on the river. That's interesting. Go ahead and pot it again. And he'll probably call me with worse than a flush, like 2-pair and such. But he doesn't want to this time. I think he may well have had just one pair there, like a king or a jack. Here I'm just going to thin value half pot. I'm going to half pot kind of for thin value protection here, and go. Turn doesn't do that much. I'm going to half pot it again for the same thin value protection. Called again. River is terrible for me. I just check it down. He has a better 5. That's interesting. That's okay. 7-3 off. I'm gonna auto fold against any raise. Doesn't matter what size. Pick up some aces. See if he wants to play. Nope. No action for the aces. 4-3 off is still a fold against min raise, even though I am widening my calling range a good bit against min raise, like kind of a lot. Hands that bad are just still auto folds. He doesn't seem to be 3-betting very much. He's done it like once so far for a big sizing, so I think I can still 3x a pretty wide range, probably 85 to 90%, unless he starts 3-betting a lot, and then I'll drop it to like 60 to 70. King 7 off, I will flat against min raise. That's the worst King X offsuit hand that I'll flat versus min raise. I'm just gonna probably check fold here if he wants to go after this pot at all. We chop with King high. That's fine. Ten deuce suited is going to be like almost never a flat versus 3-bet. Just doesn't hit enough, doesn't play well post flop, etc. 9-5 suited, we're just gonna flat, and we flop nothing, just backdoor spades. Pick up nothing on the turn. I'm just not gonna be leading turns aggressively right now because I'm a little bit down and I haven't really shown down any strong hands yet. I will half pot river and see if he gives me credit for like a king. That's cool. That was a bit of a post oak there, I guess. So this guy's probably going to be pretty nitty, fairly uncreative. I'm going to lead half pot with my flop open-ended here. Get called. Turn is not great for me. Now if the 10 comes, I just have to check now. Only a 5 is a good card for me now. I'm going to check it down and just let him have this one. He had a 6 and turned open-ended, so he certainly wouldn't have folded to a turn barrel. He may have folded to all 3 barrels, but that's not the kind of hand I want to have in my 3-barreling range. Just not enough equity. Ooh, he 3x's one, so I will fold king 7 off. So a couple times he's randomly 3x'd. I don't really know why. He's definitely min-raising most of his button range. I'm just going to flat this. I would often 3-bet it against someone whose 3xing range I'm more confident about, but I'm going to check raise flop here. Try to rep a 6. Half pot the turn. Hopefully he gets away from a 10 here. There we go. Flop trip jacks. Half pot it for value. Just get a fold, that's fine. I was able to make that barrel in the check raise pot because it was my first check raise, and it's harder for him to have a 6 than it is for me to have one, I think. Well, no, it's actually harder for me to have one than it is for him since I flatted out of position, but I just felt like I was going to get a whole lot of credit at the time. Here I'm potting because I wanted to just fold. Yeah, I wanted more fold equity there since I had less actual pot equity with the gutter. And I haven't really been potting much, so I'm just kind of exploiting his perception of low frequencies in my raising ranges at the moment. And he reloads back to 100, okay. He still isn't 3-betting tremendously often. There's another 3-bet. Maybe I should tighten up a little bit, you know, drop down to like 75-80% of buttons. But he's not doing it enough to make me want to like 4-bet bluff him or anything yet. Here I'm going to try the larger 3-bet sizing and see what his reaction to it is. He folds. Okay, so I'm getting the impression that he may be elastic against 3-bets with different sizes, which is good. Means I can take more control of the game flow using a larger 3-bet. I'll probably try 3-betting pot a couple more times and just sort of see what he continues with and whether it makes him 4-bet me too much or something like that. Any ace I'm going to flat against min raise, whereas like ace 7 off and below I'm folding against 3x. I check call this 3/4 pot bet here, but I'm definitely not going to call all 3 barrels here. I can find folds. Thankfully he checks back turn, but that's a really bad river for us. But he just checked down. Looks like he was contemplating bluffing there, and I probably would have folded. but he didn't want to, I guess. So let's find out what he had. Three deuce suited. Just absolutely nothing. Okay. Here I'm going to 3-bet bluff for the first time. Kind of get an idea of how much he continues versus 3-bets. And he 4-bets. This is too weak a hand to continue versus 4-bet. Since it's like kind of the bottom of my 3-bet bluffing range anyway. So I just fold. But mentally noted that he did 4-bet me one time. At about 9:30. Nine-7 off is a fold versus 3x for me, but it would have been a call versus min raise. I'm just gonna fold, like I said, the bottom 10% or so right now on the button, maybe bottom 15%, because I feel like he is gonna 3-bet me some, not a ton, but enough to get me to open fold a few hands. I 3-bet 7s and he snap folds. So I feel like he may be kind of resistant to calling 3-bets. He may be more of a 4-bet or fold kind of player, but I don't really know yet. We'll see. Here I have a gutter. I just pot it because I want more fold equity. Get check raised. That's unfortunate. It's a pretty break-even call here. If I stack him when I hit, I'm gonna call. And I do in fact bank my gin card, the gutter, giving me open-ended straight flush draw as well. So I guess I just ship the turn. I think he's trying to decide whether I could have had the gut shot. He's going to call with just top pair. So a very lucky turn for us there. Turns out I did in fact have enough implied odds against his hand. Probably against his range to call with the gutter on the turn there. If it was shallower, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Yeah, that was very lucky. Fold to his... It looks like he may start 3-betting more aggressively now because he might be tilted that he lost there. And he may be tightening up his button as well. I haven't seen him open fold too many buttons yet. Here I'm going to make a small 4-bet on a bluff. He insta-flats. I flop obscenely well. I'm going to actually underbet this flop and try to get some extra action. He just folds. Very nice. I wasn't going to like the turn card in a 4-bet pot. Thankfully he folded the flop. Eight-6 off is another hand that I would flat versus min raise. It's like the bottom of my flat versus min raise range, but I'm just folding it versus 3x. I think the small 4-bet is a good tactic against someone whose large 3-betting frequency is getting too high, because they are going to flat it a decent portion of the time, but if they were 3-betting a wide range and then they end up having to flat most of that range because your 4-bet is small, they're going to end up having to give up the flop a lot, and that's kind of what you want. You get a good bit of dead money in a 4-bet pot and steal it on the flop. Plus, with stack sizes around 100 big blinds, a really large 4-bet is just bad leverage most of the time and doesn't accomplish a whole lot, and people just don't believe you. Here I just potted the river when I rivered top pair because I hadn't represented anything thus far and it looked like a spot, like a card I might want to bluff on, so fairly easy value bet. He reloads back to 100. Here I'm going to flat his large 3-bet wide with Jack 10 off because I think he's doing it so much right now. And then I just fold flop. I don't need to try to float him with garbage right now or anything. I have no equity there. 8-2 off is a fold against any open. So he is making that large 3-bet with a kind of unreasonably high frequency right now. So that opens up some opportunities for me to 4-bet bluff small and to flat with a little bit wider range and try to play post flop, since I know he has so much crap in his 3-betting range right now. Nine-5 off, I fold to any open sizing. I guess it's like really borderline for whether to call it against min raise, but I tend to just fold it. It's definitely an easy fold against 3x though. Just fold to his 3-bet here. I don't want to turn 10-4 off into a 4-bet bluff right now, especially because I 4-bet semi-recently, and I may not get credit for it. Also, he appears to have slightly backed off his 3-betting recently, so he could have just been waiting for a hand, so there's really just not any game flow reason to try to 4-bet bluff with a janky hand like 10-4 offsuit at that point. Eight-7 off would be a flat for me against min raise, but is not against 3x. It's just a fold. He makes the big 3-bet again. I'm going to fold it again, but if he does it again real soon, I'll consider 4-bet bluffing small. I just need to build up a few folds to 3-bet before he'll give a 4-bet a lot of credit, I think, because he knows he's 3-betting a lot, and he knows I know that, so he should know that I might be looking for spots to 4-bet bluff. So I want to like make really sure that I give the impression that I'm not gonna 4-bet bluff before I actually do it. Here I just pot the flop, and I think his flatting range is pretty average. I get check raised. That's an easy fold then. So that's his first check raise on Ace-Jack 2 two-tone. Probably, I don't know, lots of 2 pairs and sets, I'd say. Maybe a few draws. He flats one. I don't need to go after this flop. I think, yeah, his flatting range seems fairly average, tight-ish, so I'm not going to try to make as many moves post-flop when he flats. And we chop with queen high. King 6 off is fold to any open for me. So he flats again. Here I'm going to half pot the ace high board and just hope for an occasional fold, even if he doesn't fold too much. But I haven't been doing anything in a while, so I think I can actually pot turn now and represent a strong hand, get his weaker shit to fold. But when he calls again, I think he has an ace. I'll have to overbet to take this down now, I think. That's not worth trying. Yeah, he has ace-9. Once he calls 2 barrels, he has an ace. Actually, I don't like my second barrel in retrospect. I think that should have been a one and done. Or I flop the flush draw and lead half pot because I haven't really done anything out of position in a while. And It's a reasonable line to start with. He folds, and I will return the flush on a paired board, though. Some nines, and he folds the button, unfortunately. So it looks like he's shifting to flatting a good bit more than 3-betting now. Not a great turn card, but I think still worth another value bet because his ace-x probably still calls. 7 river doesn't do a whole lot. I'm going to pot it and hope that he just bluff catches an ace. If I get raised, it's pretty easy fold, I think. It's going to be like Queen Jack or AK if he raises, or a set. But I think he's deciding between call and fold. And he hero calls something. 10s and 9s are good. Cool. I like my play there. I think it's a good spot to 10 value bet big. He probably calls pretty inelastically there. See if I can find out what he had. He's definitely cut down his 3-betting a lot, so not really going to be looking for spots to 4-bet bluff anymore. So he had ace-2, yeah, just a weak ace. He put me on a real polarized range, which I was. Call with open-ended and a shit flush draw, and river nothing. But I think perhaps I can half-pot this and take it down at least a third of the time. Nope, not this time. He has the ace, fair enough. But I think at least a third of the time he won't have the ace or the 6 and he'll just fold, so I don't mind my bluff on the river there for that size. I think potting river would be bad because he probably calls inelastically. So I like my small bluff there. This bottom pair, I'm just going to half pot this for protection. And he check calls. Turn doesn't do much. I check it back. I don't think trying to get 2 streets from flop and turn is good here. There are no real draws he can be on. Once he checks river, I think I can half pot again and get a call from ace high sometimes. Or get raised. That is very weird. I don't believe him. Yeah, it just made no sense. What hand would he have like slow played to the river and then decided to check raise? I mean, maybe like he only represents maybe like the 6-7 gutter I think that got there. I just didn't buy it there. His line didn't really represent a hand at all. Fold to his big 3-bet. He seems to 3-bet big often shortly after losing a substantial pot. Just did this twice in a row now. I'm gonna make a small 4-bet bluff. And he folds. Very good then. I like doing that with hands like ace-x and king-x that have a blocker to some of the premium hands that he would be 3-betting for value. 3-bet, just fold the bottom of my range. Queen 6 off here is, it's always a fold. King 6 off is always a fold to any open for me. Flop 2 pair here in a single raise pot, that's good. I'm gonna half pot it to try to keep him in the pot and or induce a bluff raise. I turn a boat, which is terrific. So I just half pot again, trying to keep him in with worse hands. He just folds there. I felt like I was getting a lot of respect there, and he was probably calling elastically, so I bet small with my value hands. And betting small with your value hands, while it's primarily correct against an elastic range, it goes up in value against someone who actually raises too often against it as well. Because then you can just induce them, and you can underbet and get two benefits out of it. Here, he's done this several times recently. I'm going to flat the Jack 10. I can't really peel with a gutter here. I just fold flop. I don't have enough implied odds even when I get there, and it's unlikely he'll stop barreling. Flop a gutter, but this is the kind of board that hits a flatting range somewhat well, so I'll just check it back. When he checks again and I turn double gutter, I can just bet half pot and get at least, probably get a fold at least a third of the time, so I don't mind. Like I said, I'm still folding a few buttons because he does 3-bet some. He's not a super aggressive 3-better, but I'd say he's moderately aggressive with his 3-bets, so that's enough to get me to fold the bottom 10 or 15% of buttons, at least. I'm 3-betting deuces because, okay, he folds. I like having a big enough pot that I could potentially get stacks in when I flop a set, and he doesn't 4-bet enough, so that means I can protection raise more kind of weaker marginal hands like deuces or king jack and stuff like that. Flop top pair. I'm going to check it back and sort of like, oh, well, it's a bad turn card, but check it back again now. Now I can value bet the river if he doesn't bet, and he may bluff here, so I can call. Yeah, he just had a 6. I guess he's trying to thin value bet there. I don't know what, maybe a rivered 5 calls, I'm not sure. I think that may be a little too thin on his part, even though it was only half pot. I think his hand was more of a bluff catcher than a thin value bet, but whatever. I'll call his 3-bet a little light with 7-4 suited and flop the flush like a boss. I'm gonna go ahead and half pot it. He probably check folds. Yeah, he hates that flop, obviously, as he should. I think checking back flop there with the flush is also possible, but I'd rather protection bet it more often than not, because I hate seeing a 4th diamond on the turn, obviously. You're 9-8 off, I flat against, this is always a call against like 2x or 3x, I think. Turn doesn't help me, that's a bad card. I guess I can just half pot river and maybe call by a worse 9 or like a 4. Jack 6 off is just terrible for defending against 3-bets, so we just fold. Jack deuce suited, and he folds. That's fine. I was gonna say that's a call or fold. I think leaning toward fold. You really only call if you have good game flow advantage. I think in a lot of post flop fold equity. Here I'm gonna make my small 4-bet bluff again. A 4-3 suited. And he may find a 5-bet jam this time. I flop bottom pair and a gutter. I'm gonna check it back. Now I have a double gutter. That's 20 as a 4-3. I can call one barrel here because of implied odds. I don't hit on the river. I'm gonna bluff him. And he folds. I felt like he would ship any river that he liked, and when he checks that river, it just feels like he's giving up tremendously often. He hasn't shown a propensity for trap checking really at all so far, and yeah. Jack 2 off is always a fold against any open. He didn't actually open that time, but whatever. I think now I have excellent game flow, so I'm going to open 3x wider than I normally would, because I think he's going to be folding more big blinds. So I can open stuff like 6-4 off that I wouldn't normally open for 3x. 9 off. That's a flat versus any open. I think it's always a call and heads up. Barring someone opening absurdly tight on the button. We'll just let him have this one now. Can't really fight over it. Three-betting 10-8 suited because I feel like he's going to give me a lot of credit right now. Yeah, I'll either just fold 3-bet or fold flop to half pot a lot, I think, at the moment. And 10-8 suited is a perfectly fine drawing hand to have in your 3-bet bluffing range. I actually 3-bet it more often than not. It's only a flat when you're against like someone that's stationing you and not giving you any credit and or making a lot of moves on you, stuff like that. I don't think it's been long enough for me to try another 4-bet bluff on him yet, so I got to keep my frequency really low for that to keep working, because he's going to flat it, and then I've got to have enough credit from my pre-flop strength to be able to take it down on a lot of boards. 3-bet ace-queen. Flats. I flop middle pair. I'm just going to check this. King turn, king of clubs turn is okay for me, but I check it again, and probably play this as a bluff catcher. Like, I don't think he checked back flop with a whole lot of kings or flush draws. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do so. So yeah, ace queen good. Ace 4 off, I don't need to defend against 3-bet, especially a little bit short. It's not the worst hand in the world to flat 3-bet with, but I prefer just to not do it very much. Hello? Yeah, did you want to play tonight? Okay, that's cool. Okay, hit me up. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Okay, so I'm just kind of making some standard folds here. think at this point it's been, well, I don't know, he's flatting my 4-bet a lot, so I don't really want to 4-bet some garbage hand. And he's not deep enough for me to make a really large 4-bet that denies him my odds to flat. So just leverage-wise, it's hard to 4-bet much there. Here I make the smaller 3-bet, kind of because I have a bit more of a merged range. And also, I feel like he may be folding to 3-bet a lot at the moment anyway, so I don't really need to resort to the bigger sizing right now. If he 3-bets again here, I'm 4-betting. Okay, he just flats. Again, this is a spot where the ace is a blocker to some of the premium hands he could be 3-betting, so I peel this turn. I'm not convinced he has anything. I still don't think he has anything. I just got a 4. Well, that's fair enough. Good thin value by him, I guess. 10-4 suited's a flat against min raise for me, but not against 3x. I'm going to try to just check this down. Probably folding to a bet like anywhere. If we don't improve, which we don't. The 4 is good. We flop nothing. Just a backdoor flush draw. I'm just gonna check back flop with ace high, turn ace. Peel. River 2 pair. He bets big. I just call. We both have ace 5. Nice. Nine 7 suited. I'm 3-betting right now because I have pretty good game flow and I'm winning and so on, so he's giving me more credit. This hand, it's a call or 3-bet depending on your game flow at the time. I'm going to try 3-betting him twice in a row and see how he reacts. He snap calls, and I flop trip 2s like a boss player, and c-bet half pot. Ooh, he raises, that's cool. I just call. And then I'm going to lead real small on the turn to kind of represent a blocking bet. And hope that it induces a bluff raise. Or a thin value raise from the worst hand. Whichever. And now I just tank all the way down and ship river. I think tanking for a long time here looks suspicious. And I'm hoping that he'll just snap me off with like an 8, especially since the flush draws missed. No draw got there at all. There were some straight draws on the turn, but they missed too. I'm very confident I have best hand. I'm just tanking so that he'll think I'm bluffing more often. He's definitely considering it, so that's good. He's time banking. Usually when people... I find that when people time bank and time all the way down, they often convince themselves to call, so that's a good sign. Oh, he folds it. That's a shame. Oh well, still won a decent pot. Got 40 bucks or so out of him there. And now, I'm actually going to tighten my button. Oh, never mind. I was going to say that if he was short with like 70 bigs, I was going to tighten my button a tiny bit and get rid of some of the junk hands. Because he gets... we get closer and closer to showdown, and those junk hands don't do a whole lot as stacks get shorter. But he rebought back up to 100 anyway, so it doesn't matter. Now he may be tightening his button because he's losing so much. I'll just fold Jack 5 suited to his big 3-bet. He hasn't done it in a while. If he 3-bets twice in a row, I'll definitely flat ace-10 off. Of course, 10-2 off is always a fold. Out of position. Even though it is the Doyle, it's not that good. This, I think we can c-bet pot and just take it down a good bit, because I represent an ace so hard. So if he doesn't, well, he probably has an ace now that he's called one street for pot, so I'm just checking down now. Probably folding to river lead too. Yeah, he's got an ace a lot. That's kind of a flop where he should have a pretty strong footer fold threshold against my large pot bet, and so when he just snap calls the flop, I think he just has an ace disproportionately often, and it's easy for me to just give up at that point. I guess I check call one street here because he can be on draws, but he could also flop the straight. Yeah, he keeps barreling here. I'll just let him have it. Maybe he could have found an exploitative fold on the flop there. So yeah, he's tightening his button, so that means I'm going to be flatting less often and 3-betting more polarized with more equity when I'm bluffing. Yeah, so he's definitely folding pre-flop in both positions a good bit more right now, since he's just stuck a ton, having a lot of trouble, it seems. Queen 10 off is like always a call. Out of position, heads up, I think. River 10, just go ahead and pot it, try to look like I have nothing and hope ace high calls. And he just has nothing anyway. I feel like this is a good time for the small four. Well, he hasn't been 3-betting a lot recently. He backed his 3-betting off a good bit, so I'm going to give him credit this time. I almost 4-bet bluffed him, but my hand doesn't play that well post-flop, and I do expect him to flat 4-bet reasonably often against the small sizing that I'm going to use. Five-4 off, I probably flat against min-raise, fold against 3x. It might even be a fold to min-raise. That hand's really, really bad. Even though it has connectivity, it's just so low and off-suited, it just really hard to find a spot where 5-4 off is playable, I think. Here I'm going to delayed c-bet half pot because he's shown no interest in the pot, but he has some kind of weak pair probably. And then I'm going to pot the river because the flush completed. And he folds, cool. I think he folded a 4 or a 5 or an 8. Which is what I wanted him to fold, of course. 9-6 off is just too weak to defend against 3x. I'd probably flat it versus min-raise. Just fold 10-7 off to a 3-bet. He's not doing it at a super high frequency anymore. I think he's probably just doing it with mostly strong hands now because he's losing, so I'm just going to make some folds to his 3-bet, and it's not that big a deal. Here we flop nothing with ace high. Just try to check this down. Hopefully have the best hand. When he delayed c-bets here, I feel like he has a small pair a decent bit, and I don't want to call another barrel in the river. I'm actually just going to let it go on the turn. King 2 off is always a fold out of position. Let me get called. I'm just going to take a stab at this for pot and hope that he just has nothing and gives up. He check raises. That's an easy fold. His check raising frequency has been like nothing, so I'll just give him credit and fold my garbage. I'm going to flat 8-5 suited right now rather than 3-bet because I feel like my image isn't good after I got check raised off that pot a second ago. Fun if this is still good. Ugh, he bets $2. I feel like that's just a queen or ace, like always. I'm going to exploitatively fold the 5, even though he bet less than half pot. The Doyle gets a walk. Queen 2 off. (10-6) off is... I think I flat it against min raise sometimes when I have game flow, and it's always a fold against 3x. Jack 4 off is always a fold against any open for me. I just check back 5s here because I feel like his relatively tight flatting range hits the multi-Broadway board fairly well. I river a set, see if he wants to lead out. He does want to lead out. Just raise pot quickly and hope he calls with an ace. Now if I get 3-bet on the river, that's a weird spot. Because he can have like deuce 4 or 7-4. I think it's actually a fold, a raise fold on the river if he wants to 3-bet. Because he knows straights are possible, and I don't think he value 3-bets like 2 pair, so... Queen 5 suited is a caller fold, depending on momentum. Right here I'm just going to check raise my flush draw. I have a very low check raising frequency this match, so... Oh, he calls. I turn a 5. I'm going to bet very, very small. Try to get a cheap river. This is a blocking bet. I don't want him to shove. No, he just folds to the blocking bet on the turn. Very good. And I would have bricked the river, so... Fun times! Alright, I'm going to cut the video off at the hour mark in about 7 minutes. Gotten a pretty good win in against this guy so far, so... Here I just lead half pot with my top pair. He peels it. I'm going to barrel half pot because I turned the second nut flush draw as well. If I get raised here, I guess it's a fold. I would have rivered second nut flush, but he just folds turn, so whatever. Just fold to his big 3-bet here because he's just not doing it that much anymore, and Jack 9 off is not typically a good hand to flat a big 3-bet with. Here I flat the 3-bet with deuces, looking for a set. I flop the worst possible flush draw. If he c-bets the sport, I just fold. It's an easy fold. He checks it. I'm going to check back. I feel like I can raise turn effectively here. Trying to represent a slow play. Unless he was trap checking flop with a very strong hand, but I don't think he does that enough, so no, he was not, he just folds. He just folds the 3-bet again. Fair enough. Here we flop middle pair, just half pop the protection because he's in such a defensive gear right now, and he misses this board so often. Yeah. Eights, I'm definitely going to value 3-bet. He hasn't 4-bet this entire match, so, ooh, against a 4-bet, I think I actually just... Well, it's such a small 4-bet. I guess it's a call and play very cautiously post-flop. I don't have the odds strictly to set mine, but I could have the best hand some of the time. He did check back flop, so that's a good sign for me. But he might have turned a queen here. We just check it down and hope our 8s are good. Hope he has king jack or something. Jack. And somehow the 8s are good. Alright. I almost folded pre-flop. I feel like it's really close between call and fold there. You definitely can't 5-bet jam because his 4-betting frequency is way too low. That's the first 4-bet he's made the whole match. But yeah, it's very close. Because he made it such a small sizing, it's very close between call and fold there pre-flop. Flop middle pair, and I'm just going to make the same half-pot protection bet against his nitty gear. Because he's just not messing around right now. He's down so much. He's really trying not to... I think he's really making a concerted effort to not make a lot of moves. But then again, his 4-bet didn't hit the ace-queen XXX board, so... And it didn't beat 8s, so maybe he was 4-bet bluffing. Hard to say. Alright, about one more minute and we'll be done with this match. We flop nothing with king 9. Just check fold to half pot is fine. Flop a deuce here. Half pot protection bet. Get called this time. Okay, we're done with this pot. He could have king high occasionally, but if he leads river, he's probably got me, so I'll just fold. Oh, pocket 5s are good. Eights again. I'm gonna 3-bet my 8s for value, and he folds. Alright. I'm gonna play my last button here and then call it a session. 310 bucks for... I just fold this to this big 3-bet. 310 bucks, 311 bucks for an hour's work. Not too bad. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Felt like we got some interesting hands in. Thanks for watching. This is Gage Brown, signing off.